Welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we believe something as fundamental as nutrition shouldn't be complicated, which is why we focus on a simple, habit-based approach when working with clients. We know that becoming the healthiest version of yourself isn't just about what you eat. You have to look at a holistic approach, looking at support systems, stress management, mindset, exercise, lifestyle, and of course, nutrition. At Healthy Steps Nutrition, we work with clients to create a customized plan one step at a time. Did you know that there are thousands of Healthy Steps Nutrition coaches out there? That's right. You can go to hireanutritioncoach.com to find a Healthy Steps Nutrition coach near you. I'm your host, Nicole Aucoin, registered dietitian and founder of Healthy Steps Nutrition, CrossFit HSN, and HSN Mentoring. I'm also the author of the Healthy Kids Cookbook, 100% kid-approved recipes the entire family will love. I also wrote the Basics of Nutrition Coaching CrossFit Preferred Nutrition course. This is a standalone course for people who are interested in nutrition coaching and think that they might want to help other people. We talk about the habit-based approach we use at Healthy Steps Nutrition, and most importantly, how to apply it so that you can help clients make health a way of life through a habit-based approach. All right, today's episode is with one of our dietitians at our HQ location, Amanda Haar. She is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited about this episode because at this point in the year, people's New Year's resolution motivation has gone down the tubes, and we've come up with likely some excuses of why we are not doing what we set out to do on January 1st. Well, today we are talking about stepping away from our excuses and into a purpose-driven life. I heard a quote at church a couple weeks ago, and our pastor, TJ McCormick, said, "We all end up somewhere. Very few of us end up there on purpose." If we think about it, it makes so much sense. We don't really think about the daily decisions that we make and how it will impact where we end up. We are all about instant gratification, and we look at just the first step ahead of us instead of the bigger picture and how it will impact us towards our real long-term goals and that North Star. Well, today, Amanda and I go through some of the most common excuses we hear from people for why they're not doing what they should be doing, or why it's just not the right time. The truth is, it's never the right time to invest time into your health and wellness and change all of these habits that you need to change to become the healthiest version of yourself. But if you are breathing, it is never too late to get started. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and we will get to it right after this message. Did you know that Healthy Steps Nutrition has a Facebook group? That's right. If you go to Nutrition Made Simple, powered by Healthy Steps Nutrition, you can add yourself to this free Facebook group where we add tips all of the time to help people make health a way of life. There's so much free help that we put out there, and really my passion is to help people become the best versions of themselves through a simple habit-based approach. There's so much misinformation out there about nutrition and diet, and people thinking they just spend thousands of dollars on supplements when in reality, we can see all the results that we need for the most part with whole foods, exercise, sleep, and support system. All right. Make sure that you add yourself to that Facebook group if you are on Facebook, and let's get to this episode all about excuses and stepping away from them so that you can live out the life that you were designed to live out. Amanda, welcome back to the Nutrition Made Simple podcast.
Thanks so much for having me again, Nicole.
Today might hit some buttons for people. I'm a little bit nervous, but it's going to be fun. So today we're talking about stepping away from your excuses and into a purpose-driven life. We can have a lot of excuses, right?
Definitely.
And some of them are pretty valid, like time, you're juggling a lot of different things. I think we overschedule ourselves. So time really does become such a limiting factor for so many people.
Right. And, that's funny because this is a conversation of the sermon that on Sunday is just, we all have the same amount of time. It's just what we're doing with it, and also what time we're giving ourselves to even rest so that we can be more productive. And man, excuses. We all have excuses for different things, right? Like we will never be perfectly without excuses, but I'm excited to dig into these buttons that might need to be pushed even for myself as well.
I think for all of us, right? We make time for what we want to make time for, right? And if you look at where your time and your money is spent, we can see where your heart is.
Right, exactly. And, it's all priorities, right? And that's where I love where we can connect with, what is our life's mission and how does what we're doing align with that mission? Is it adding to that or is it distracting from that?
It's interesting because we did that vision board brunch at the beginning of 2022 with the gym. We had people from the community come in and we had a worksheet, and actually we'll put the worksheet in the show notes for this because I think this is really helpful for people to get a roadmap. And the overwhelming feedback that we got from people that filled that out was, hey, I've never really thought about this before. I've never really set goals for my life. If you're a member of a CrossFit gym, you set goals for, okay, what do you want your lifts to be? Or you want to get a pull up, or you want to, run a sub 25-minute 5K, whatever the case may be. I don't even know if that's a good 5K time. You could tell me that.
Oh yeah. Depends on the person, right?
I think it'd be a good time for me. But you look at what our goals are physically a lot, or we want to reach a certain weight. Right? We have weight loss goals or we want to weight gain goals. But a lot of times we don't look at other aspects of our life and what our goals are related to those. For instance, spiritually, right? Like 2021 for me, I really wanted to grow in my faith, and I surrounded myself with people, a group of girls. We met every Monday and they were all way further ahead of me in their spiritual journey. And it pushed me to get better. Right. And I think there's two different aspects there. You have to define what success looks like for you, why you want that, and then surround yourself with people to help you get there. I'd love for you just to give me an example of something that you've done, like, hey, I set this goal for myself personally or professionally, whatever the case may be. And why did you want that goal?
Right. Oh, that's a really good question. Oh man. I have to say, first of all, that vision board sheet was awesome because I feel like for me too, like I might have one little goal that I have in mind, but to go through all of those questions, it makes you think so much further into what you want your goals to be for my life. And I would have to say, honestly, like one of the goals that I feel like I come back to every year actually is a spiritual goal, right? So one of my goals for probably the past like 3 years have been like reading the Bible or getting into God's word every day. And I feel like, every year I get a little bit better at it. But this year is really where I found kind of that piece that is filling that void, right? So like the Bible app has been awesome.
Yep.
Every morning, like it's just one little passage, one little sermonette, like it's so quick and easy. Surrounded with, that yoga, Christian yoga teacher training that I started has just naturally been getting me into the word because it's literally prompting me to meditate on his word every day. So I'm really excited to see kind of where that even takes us the rest of the year, right? Like having these habits set up because when you are doing the things that you value the most, everything else in your wellness just kind of tends to fall into place a little bit more.
I think so many people, when they think about becoming the best versions of themselves, they focus on one aspect, right? Like, okay. And for a lot of people, it spiritually might not be something that you're thinking about right away, professionally or, a health related goal, something like that. Maybe a finance goal, like people want to save money, get out of debt, whatever the case may be. But if you don't really define why you want that goal, it could put a strain on you from reaching that goal because there's going to be obstacles that come in the way. There's going to be distractions that come in the way. And if you haven't really defined why you want to reach a certain goal and what your life will look like when you get there, you will get distracted and you will fall off and it will be tougher for you to get back on.
Right. That is so true. And I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I feel like every year, the more I get into my life as a parent, as, just all the things, like there's so many distractions out there. So if we don't stay focused onto that vision of where we want to be, that's just making it so hard for us.
this past weekend, we, talked at Coastal Community Church, and we'll actually link the message on this podcast too. But one of the things that TJ, the pastor there, kept saying is, hey, you go somewhere in life, but very few people go there on purpose. And if you think about that, it's so true. Like every single decision that you make is taking you somewhere. But is it taking you where you want to be, or is it giving you instant gratification of what you want now? And, one of the things I kept going back to when I was talking over the weekend is you have to figure out what you want most instead of what you want now. And your decisions that you make, every action that you do needs to go to what you want most. But again, most people don't really think about what they want most in the course of a year, 5 years, 10 years down the line. But the cool thing is when you do those vision boards, when you fill out a worksheet, like our worksheet, then you've really defined that for you. And then you read it every single day. And it's a constant reminder. So many people don't achieve their goals because they don't write them down and they forget about them, right? So if you write it down and then you read it every single day, how are you going to forget about that? And it's going to be a constant reminder of, okay, these are the decisions that I need to make. And if we go back to the most common excuses people have, you're going to overcome those excuses because you've already defined what success looks like to you. And those excuses are nothing.
Right. And once you have that vision, and I know we've talked about this before, just, every decision along the way, when we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. And if we're saying no to something, we're saying yes to something else. And honestly, like just last week, I was talking with a client and she's been kind of struggling with making changes that are going to bring her closer to her goal. And we talked about that concept. And that was like really just eye-opening for her because we are pulled in so many directions. And so when we have that clear focus, we can say no to the things that are distracting us, even when they seem like necessities, right?
It was funny. One of the guys who was talking with me, Justin Brown, over the weekend, he said, Nicole, you got to commit to it like you commit to your favorite Netflix series. And
I love that.
You think about it, like we watch something on Netflix or Showtime or whatever the case may be, like we'll binge watch something, right? But are you investing, is time your excuse, right? But you're investing all of this time into a series or screen time. The statistics show that the average person sits on a screen for 44 years of their life.
Oh, that's so sad. Oh my gosh.
I believe it, man. I'm on Zoom or something related to my computer for at least 8 hours a day, minimum. Wow. But if you think about that, okay, yes, of course we have to work, right? A lot of us, we're working.
Yep, totally.
But what are the other things we're spending time on a screen? Is it social media? Is it like all of the junk emails that we get and open? Like how much time do you spend on that?
Right. It's just like a rabbit hole.
It is legit a rabbit hole. And then you click the bait and then you go to the website and then you're there for however much longer. Is time the excuse? And I want to give some practical tips with the time excuse, because I feel like that one is such a common one. Mm-hmm. For me, if it doesn't get scheduled, it doesn't get done. So if time is your excuse and you can't make it to the gym, schedule your workout time and put it on the calendar like it is the most important meeting of the day. And you have to figure out, why is it important to you? For me, I know that if I'm exercising, I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to be in a better mood. I'm going to be more productive. And those things are really important for me to reach the other goals that I have in my life. Do I want to get up at, an extra hour earlier to work out every single day, especially it's been pretty cold here recently? No, but I know that I will feel better when I do. And most importantly, I know I've got Shayla waiting at the gym for me. So I have someone to keep me accountable, and I'm going to show up for her just as much as I want to show up for me.
Right. Yep, totally. And that's funny because thinking about, the rabbit hole of social media, that kind of brings up, I don't know if this ever happens to you, Nicole, because you're a pretty good early to better, I think. But sometimes for me, I'll find that I just wanted to look up one thing on my phone at usually this happens between 10 and 10:30. I get sucked into the rabbit hole. All of a sudden I'm getting hungry, or thinking that I'm hungry. I'm getting cravings, and I'm thinking, why do I want to eat something right now? I was just going to go to bed. And that creates that cycle of having a snack at night, and then you're not hungry in the morning, and how that translates into just being off on your routine and your patterns. So even thinking about like, what is the lowest hanging fruit of where you find that you waste time or, get sucked into social media, and kind of finding what that other step can be from that. Like, do you just turn your phone off at a certain time? Do you put it onto airplane mode or put it in the other room? Because we know that impacts sleep a lot, impacts our cravings, our night eating, which I think is really hard because if you're watching TV, you have all these reminders from ads that pizza's delicious and all the other things. So, if you can take that one step of like, where is this going awry, at a certain time of day where I feel like I could be putting more productive into this time or getting more sleep, that would be awesome.
I think so many people struggle getting to bed at a certain time and they don't realize the impact that little sleep is having on their health, wellness, productivity, and all the other aspects of their life. Let's talk about that for a second. I know you mentioned, scrolling on social media at night. Definitely, I will say that I've been victim of that many times as well. I need to put my phone in a different room because it's addicting. Right?
It is,
like
literally.
You just open it up and then it's like these positive little reminders like, oh, this person commented, oh, I haven't seen that person in a while. Let me go check out what's going on with them. Right. And it's a distraction. Instead of spending quality time with your significant other or your kids at night. So, having that wind down routine. And I know that there's research showing if you're watching a screen at night, it's going to be tougher for you to have that productive and, good wind down routine. Can we shut it down a little bit earlier and get out a book and read it or listen to meditation music or something so that you can unwind a little bit and get to bed so that you can have a solid 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night?
Right. And that actually makes me think of one of my clients recently. That was one of her things that she realized. I tend to binge watch things at night, but I'm not getting enough sleep at night. And therefore I can she tends towards more inflammation in her body. So she could feel the difference when she's not having as much sleep in her body. And so she set that bedtime for 9:30. And of course, they're setting it and actually sticking to it. So she put a reminder on her phone. She really, again, connected to her why she wants to make that happen. And I mean, it's been so cool to see how much better she feels just from taking that one simple step to get more sleep at night, because we know it messes with our hunger and fullness levels throughout the day. It messes with our cortisol levels, which it can contribute to inflammation. So yeah, sleep is huge.
So, I think prioritizing your sleep is really important, but then also what you're eating before you go to sleep can also affect the quality of sleep that you're having too, right? If you're having a lot of processed carbohydrates and sugar at night, the research shows that your blood sugar will be elevated throughout the night and you will wake up with a fasting blood sugar that's higher, which will impact your quality of sleep. So I think that's another thing to be thinking about. If you are binge watching a show and then having those cravings and eating something that it's, high carbohydrate, high sugar, it's going to impact the quality of sleep that you have. Definitely. When you finally do go to sleep.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And that's where I love actually just kind of checking in on, if you're having a snack at night, are you actually hungry for it? Because that could be a legitimate thing. I know, for me personally, I have a pretty high metabolism. And if I don't have a balanced snack at night, I will wake up hungry sometimes throughout the night. So sometimes that is a physical necessity. One of my clients mentioned recently, I asked myself, would I be hungry for broccoli right now? If I could eat broccoli right now, I'm actually hungry. If I'm not, it's probably just a craving or my body telling me I'm tired and I need to go to sleep instead.
I love it. Okay. So we kind of nailed down the time excuse.
Right.
I think the next most popular excuse that I hear is money, right? I don't have the money to invest in this, in nutrition coaching or the gym. And I completely understand that 100%. But I would challenge you if you are thinking hey, money is the reason why, go through your budget and determine what you are spending your money on. Because what happens with me a lot of times is I'll find, oh man, I'm going to Starbucks this many times a month, or I'm going to another place and getting ginger shots and this and this and that, and all these little things that add up. And could I make the coffee at home? and eat an extra meal or two at home, cut down the amount of alcohol that we drink out so that I can invest in myself and get the help that I need.
Right. And we actually recently did this with a family, and we kind of like roughly calculated the math, and they were saving at least as much, if not more, on not eating out since they were prepping their meals at home. So like the amount they were investing in nutrition coaching, they were saving that much or more by just making healthier foods for themselves. And they're trimming down their waistline, having more energy, just all the non-monetary benefits that come along with it. Plus, it's helpful for their pocketbook.
It's interesting. I was talking with a client a number of years ago, and we did the math. And then we also calculated the amount of food waste that they had because they would buy all these groceries and then not eat them because they would go and eat out instead. And it was like a double savings, right? Because they're not eating out, but then the food that they are spending and have at home, they were actually eating all of it because we planned out their meals together so that they had the appropriate amount of groceries instead of over buying stuff or going when you're really hungry and getting all the things that you don't necessarily need. So, I challenge you to think about, if money is the excuse, okay, what are you spending your money on? And can you reallocate some funds to get the help that you need, whether it be nutrition coaching or maybe it's a gym membership, right? Like, hey, maybe I need to get into the gym. And can you reallocate some funds so that you have the money to invest in yourself? Because the truth is, so many people are struggling with chronic disease that is all preventable and reversible, right? When you look at the statistics of Americans, 60% of people have at least one chronic disease, which is defined as a condition that requires you to be overseen by a doctor for at least a year or more. So diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, heart disease, all of these different things that it comes down to, nutrition, sedentary lifestyle, stress management, smoking, things that you can all control. Are there genetics that are going to cause some people to get sicker faster or whatever the case may be? Yes, there's genetics, but there's also so much that you can do to control, to prevent disease, which is the reason why both of us spend all of our days helping people get healthy. One of the craziest statistics that I read recently, 1 out of every 3 people have prediabetes. So, if we had one other person in this room, chances are 1 out of the 3 of us would have prediabetes. 25% of people do not know. And if you think about that, it makes sense. Most people don't get their blood work done every year because they don't like needles, right? Mm-hmm. I will be one of those people. I don't love needles. I do get my blood work done, but I don't love needles. But if you don't know what's going on the inside of your body, there are so many times that you could have all this inflammation and elevated blood sugars that are going to cause issues down the line if you don't take care of your body now.
Right. And that's interesting because kind of thinking about that, even just like personally, sometimes we don't realize how bad we feel until we start feeling better.
Yep.
Right. Like I know I was in a place where I just had some health issues come up after my son was born and just autoimmune stuff happening. And I was just annoyed that I was so tired, but I never really thought about like, I could be feeling differently. So that kind of what led me down that path of changing. But yeah, really like energy, feeling well, like that's you can't quantify that, right?
Yeah. I mean, what's your health worth at the end of the day? And if you don't get healthy, what are the medical bills that are going to pile up because you haven't taken care of yourself? And you have to think of not only the burden that you're causing yourself, but what about the people that are going to eventually have to take care of you? Mm-hmm. And that's the reality of the situation that we're in, right?
Right.
TJ, the pastor, when we were talking about health and wellness, was talking about, he made an analogy at the end. He was talking about, if you only had one car the rest of your life, how well would you take care of that car? Would you put premium gas in it? Would you, get the oil changed every single day? Would you, not every day, but, regularly? Would you get the services done regularly? Would you make sure that it's vacuumed and cleaned and just taken care of? Would you make sure it's washed? You would take care of that car because that's the only car you have for the rest of your life. I mean, it's very similar with our bodies.
Very similar, yeah.
Right? Like we only have one body unless you want to start getting all these different surgeries. We only have one body, but do we really take care of it like it's the only body that we have? Or do we make up this narrative in our head like, oh, this is just the way that I am?
Right. And that's, I mean, a lie that we can tell ourselves often. I feel like I kind of grew up with that mentality of like, I am who I am and this is who I am. And, he is who he is. That's all he is. But when we recognize that like every person is dynamic and constantly changing based on the things that we're exposed to, the learnings that we gain, like we're constantly changing. And from there, I mean, you can, it could be limitless, the changes that you can make.
I think it kind of brings us to the next and final excuse that I want to like touch on, and the fact of like mindset and the people that say like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I can't do that. And I think so many times we get in our heads like, oh, I'm not good enough to do that. And the self-talk that we have is so broken, right? Like, would you ever talk to your neighbor like that? Probably not,
no,
right?
Yep.
But we beat ourselves up so many times. And, it's interesting when you look at, we own a CrossFit gym. And when you think about CrossFit, a lot of people think like flipping tires or what they see on the CrossFit games. And in reality, our box, that's what they call a CrossFit gym. Our box is so different. And we really cater to the people and the people I love helping personally are the people that would have never stepped into the gym to begin with. I remember when we first opened our gym, some of our first members, Gabe and Moose, it was a couple, they joined the gym. Moose literally couldn't run around the building. Like she would walk and then we would run and then we would walk, and it was 200 meters, right? It was like, it takes about a minute to run around the building. She couldn't do it. And she, came back consistently every day. She came back. Now she's running 5K, no problem. She can do it because she decided, hey, I don't want to live like this. This is not the path that I'm going to go down. I want to change my story. I'm going to write a new story, and I'm going to get the help that I need and the support that I need, because I know I can't do it alone. Like
Right.
If you're so far off, getting back on track is really tough to do by yourself.
Yeah.
But if you surround yourself with people and you have this positive self-talk of, hey, yes, I can do it. I think we've all done those workouts, and I'm sure you have too, where you might not have the best positive self-talk, and it's exponentially harder, right?
Definitely.
Like, oh man, I got 5 more reps of this. Oh, this is a really tough workout. And then it's just so much more difficult versus like, oh, I only got 3 minutes left. Oh yeah, that wasn't that bad. The conversations we have in our head, I don't know if you do it, but I do it all the time. The conversations
definitely. Yep.
I have in my head when I'm working out make the workout either a lot easier or exponentially harder, the mindset and the self-talk that you have.
Right. And are you thinking like, is this breaking me down or is it making me stronger? Right. Like, am I depleting my energy, or is this going to be giving me energy for the long run, the rest of the day? That is huge. I love mindset and positive self-talk. And it's honestly just a practice that you kind of have to start slowly at. Like if you feel like you right now have a lot of negative self-talk right now, that might be necessary to put up some visible reminders, like in places you are at throughout the house, like whether is it reminders of positive affirmations or I can do it, or a Bible passage that, really relates to you. We just need to like start changing that mindset one step at a time, because again, reminding yourself that you're dynamic. You might not have done something in the past, but the future has yet to be written.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, you're only as strong as your excuses, right? So like we can all make up all the excuses, but if you want a different life, you need to write the story that you want to write, figure out why it's important to you, and make every intentional decision on how to get there. So I challenge all of our listeners today to think about, what is really important to you? Why do you want that? What are the excuses that you're coming up with? And let's flip the script on those excuses and figure out why is it that you need to overcome those to get to where you want to be.
That's powerful, Nicole.
I hope you enjoyed that episode on stepping away for your excuses so that you can live out a purpose-driven life. I think the truth is we all can have excuses, but if you don't figure out why you want to do something and really dig deep, it will be so easy for your excuses to make the decisions for you. But if you know your why, you're going to find your way because it's your North Star. I made a resource recently on helping people create the vision of their purpose-driven life. And I want to give it to all of you. So if you click the link in the show notes, you can just fill out a quick form and you can get that form, this 4-page worksheet, and you can fill it out to really think about how you are making the decisions, where you want to go, so you can make decisions based on that. So if you want this vision planning worksheet, I would love to give it to you. Just click the link in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I know that we talked about some, hot buttons for some people. I think we all can have excuses, but your why has to be bigger than those excuses. And when it happens that you have this vision of what you want most, the things that you want right now are not going to get in the way of that. So again, click the link in the show notes so you can download this worksheet. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss another episode again. And if you love this podcast, which I hope you do, please leave us a review, write a review, give us 5 stars so that this podcast can reach more people. We'll see you back here next week.